the cattle drive started after the railhead, the end of the railroad, the Santa Fe Railroad, came to Dodge City. And any of you who ever watched Gunsmoke and Western movies, and I think we all have, we've seen and heard about the cattle drives and the Yippee-Yay and all that stuff. Well, what fueled the cowboys for all those miles and miles and miles was chili. And chili is the best known natural antioxidant or preservative. So you put a lot of red chili on any kind of meat, it prolongs the keeping life. So they had chili, chili, chili all the way to Dodge. And the chili that I'm going to share with you was a recipe that my grandfather synthesized. Tonight I'm making a presentation on Chili Madness, my newest book. It's the revised, expanded, original Chili Madness. And we're going to be targeting or kind of focusing on 3 different styles of chili. We're going to do a Mexican tortilla chili, clam and green chili chowder, and then my signature dish, which is the Pecos Valley or Pecos River Bowl of Red. And along with that, we're going to be serving some New Mexico wines, and I want to just kind of reveal the history of New Mexico wine. It's the first wine ever made in any of the Americas. And here's the way the story goes. The conquistadors actually went to they went to the Americas to avoid Catholicism. They didn't want to become Catholics, so they went on a one-way trip to the Americas. But then after they first got into New Mexico about 1508, then they, the priests decided to come, and the monks and the Jesuits around 1540, and actually they were then welcomed. It was 2 generations later, and they came with the blessing of the King of Spain that they must use wine produced in Spain for communion. The wine took 6 to 8 years to get there. And when the wine would get there, it was vinegar. So one of the more testy, innovative priests said, you know what, with that, we're going to bring over vines, we're going to make wine, and we're not going to worry about Spain and their wine because it doesn't work anyhow. It takes too long to get there. So that's how wine got started in New Mexico. And they had more wine production in New Mexico before Prohibition in 1929 than anywhere in the United States. I don't know, it just seemed like everybody thought I knew so much about Southwestern cooking, and I did. I grew up with it, but I never thought I knew things that other people didn't know until I just was so constantly contacted. And I thought, that really would be fun to go into a food career. So midlife, I changed and went into a career in serious food. So let me just turn back the pages of time a little bit, and we're sitting now in Texas after the Alamo, and they had a pretty rough time, if you remember history a little bit. And so they decided, the leaders of now Texas was actually kind of like its own country at that time, or they're operating as such. And it's huge. If you've ever driven across Texas, it's hard to do it in one day. But they knew that they needed people. And so they advertised in Europe, and they got a lot of Germans to take them up on the fact that, hey, let's move to Texas and take our cattle. But also they came from Switzerland and from Scotland. So here all these Europeans descend on Texas, they get free land, they start producing cattle, and it's like, oops, what are we going to do with all these cattle? Because in Europe, once you produce a fine herd of cattle, you can sell them, right? But if it's a sparsely populated area with no roadways, no highways, no railroads, once they produce the cattle, they just didn't have anything to do with them. So that's how a lot of beef got into Texas recipes. It was either eat them or let the cattle perish. Red meat, or meat from large animals, was extremely rare throughout the Americas until the Spanish arrived with their hogs or pork. And so when they did have some, meat from large animals, they preserved it like gold with the chilies, because the Indians are the ones that really developed the chilies, and the Indians originally came from Asia. And so there's tons of information, history, lore. Like it wasn't until the communists take over about World War II with Mao Zedong that chilies were allowed to be consumable in the mainland parts of China. It was always reserved as a pharmaceutical. Chilies themselves work wonders on your body. I always say you can have the waistline of your dreams, just eat more chili. And the hotter the better. So how does it work on your waistline? Chilies capsaicin itself has the greatest ability to make your body get excited. It's the greatest thing you can consume. And if you marry chilies with chocolate, you got a ringer, because chocolate in and of itself is a stimulant to our body. If you eat capsaicin on a regular and consistent basis, it's pretty amazing how healthy you will be and become. It helps reduce stress-related diseases, and it helps to do everything from make your complexion better. It's anti-aging. Chilies with the capsaicin actually excite the body more than any other thing you can consume. That rush or that high is the same thing that chilies can bring on.